And if you mess up, at the very least, you're going to lose some fingers and maybe a lot more. How were you trained to keep calm in that situation? And then what have you learned since then
Wow.
about
Mm,
maintaining that flow in an extreme environment?
yeah, that's a great question. A better question actually is not the on mission individual IED. The 2 minutes or less, I'm wired specifically for that. And that started with my time on stage. I got stage fright really bad. And that was a problem because I was on stage a lot. I was the first tenor. I was the first trumpet. I was Tony in West Side Story.
Oh, wow.
And like vomit level butterflies is a beautiful euphemism. Somewhere along my sophomore year, I learned, oh, could this just mean the feeling I get before I do something awesome? So I rewrote the story, and that is actually how I jumped out of airplanes. And you'll hear is fear inoculation. Yeah.
And, this long-term fear, imposter syndrome thing, I think a lot of us have this and various different levels of our training. I want to just dial back to this, what you call this vomit level stress, and tie it into a sports analogy. Larry Bird, one of the greatest basketball players ever, had, especially before big playoff games, vomit level
Yeah.
fear. And he would vomit before games and then he would go out. He would literally puke in the locker room and then go out and play world class basketball, epic world class basketball. And at a certain point in his career, he stopped vomiting. And that is when his performance dropped. So, this is why I think action and adventure sports are the leaders of the flow laboratory in many ways, because there is life risk at stake on extreme ends of skiing, on extreme ends of snowboarding, surfing, rock climbing, those types of things.
Okay.
And so that is an extreme type of flow, but flow is a spectrum. And my shiatsu sensei was a Zen master, and I started getting into the ancient Japanese literature, and the samurai and the Zen masters discovered flow state. There's a Zen master named Takuan Soho who wrote a book called The Unfettered Mind, who talks about how in a combat situation with a samurai, sword on sword duel, how to maintain your flow state, and how the instant you break flow, that's when, and he talked about a hair's breadth difference between life and death. So you're talking about a vomit level incidents. Those guys battled, and Takuan Soho was a teacher of a swordsman named Miyamoto Musashi. Joe Rogan talks about
Yeah.
Musashi. Musashi's got a couple books. Everybody talks about his Book of Five Rings, which is a business classic. But I think that by far the best Musashi book, and then I'll kick it back to you, but the best Musashi book was an autobiography written by an author by the name of A.G. Yoshikawa, who talks about the progression of Musashi's mind from being pretty much a cocky teen thug. He was a thug. He was a thug like a thug life thug would be, but in the 1500s in Japan, to a fierce warrior who was a little on the dark side of flow, to a warrior who reached a type of an enlightenment. And after his 30th duel, sword to sword, this is documented history, real human stuff, witnessed by hundreds and hundreds of people. This is a real thing. He realized, I can't lose. I'm in this flow state. It's impossible for me to lose. And it took him 30 more duels where he was death matched with 30 more people before he realized, I can't lose. So I have to put my sword down, because if I keep carrying this sword around, I'm going to be challenged by people and I'm going to kill them. And then he became what was the equivalent of the governor of a big state like Texas or Pennsylvania or California. Musashi turned his sword into a plowshare and worked for peace in that country. So anyway, I guess that was a bigger wave than I thought was planning on riding, but that's like my origin story.
I love it.
And then surfing for me, and now most recently really playing music, because I do that a lot more than
Yeah.
I
Let me
surf these
pause this.
days.
For example, Rockefeller takes a nap. He took a nap 3 o'clock every single day, no matter what. He gave his nervous system a chance religiously. He had some other nutritional rules. He was Orthodox Jewish in that. Not Rockefeller. I'm talking about my other favorite family, the Rothschilds. The Rothschilds would refuse to negotiate with somebody that was calm because they didn't have their competitive advantage. So they would do things to stress the people that they were about to negotiate with. And all that to say this line: mastery of a calm nervous system is the ultimate competitive advantage. That's what we heard today with Musashi. He couldn't lose, right? So he had to put the sword down. The astronaut that went to the moon had to learn how to have a calm, how to be with calm instead of cortisol, right? So flying around at Mach 7 or faster, Mach 33 to leave Earth's atmosphere and gravity. And you're rewarded right now, short term, to use cortisol and adrenaline as your fuel source. That's fear. I'm going to use courage. I'm excited. That's a type of fear. Peace be with you. And so the peace in the ocean inside of you, you can reconnect the ocean waves, the salinity, it's the same in the ocean as your blood. And remember, this is what Steve Jobs did. He was able to be calm enough to look around the corner and disciplined enough to separate the signal from the noise. There's a lot of noise right now designed to make you afraid, to put you in the fight or flight mode. How we want to serve in the community is to help you have your calm nervous system so you can make your prescription choices. They're not given to you. In the words of Andrew Bustamante and Chase Hughes, you're either doing the programming or the programming is being done unto you. We want to give you your sovereignty back and teach you how to use this incredible temple that your soul is in.
I love it. Okay. Let me riff on this a little bit. You mentioned the calmness in the negotiation.
Yeah.
That's super interesting because the thing about primates is, and we're primates, if you think about it that way. I know a lot of us don't like to think about it, but all primates have male dominance hierarchies. And humans, we have a little bit of an exception to other primates because we have all of this culture, but all primates, all monkeys, apes have these male dominance hierarchies, and testosterone is a very important part of the alpha male's psyche. Alpha males tend to have more testosterone than the beta males or the lower level males. However, testosterone is not what gives dominant male success.
Right.
Serotonin levels do.
That's
And
joy.
serotonin levels keep them calm so they have the drive, but they also don't get flustered. So that part of being in a calm state during negotiation has to do with serotonin levels. And testosterone, if it gets out of control, you can go into a rage or a fury and you can do a lot of damage to yourself. One of the best ways, are we allowed to swear on this podcast here, Brian?
Repeatedly, man. I'm a sailor.
One of the best ways to get the shit kicked out of yourself in a fight, and I'm not talking about a street fight, but I'm talking about a playground fight, which is what we used to do back in the 70s and 80s, is you get popped in the nose, you get popped in the nose, and you get an instantaneous release of testosterone. The testosterone levels shoot through the roof, the adrenaline shoot through the roof, and you fly into a rage. And that rage is designed so that if the bear or the tiger is on top of you, you swing furiously. You swing furiously, and then they call it a blind rage, where you are swinging furiously at whatever is right in front of you, and all that the opponent has to do is step off to the side. You're blind, and you're a sitting duck.
Yep.
The rage and the fury are not the tools of combat. The calm execution of your training is that you can think of business as warfare. That's one. I like to think of business as cooperation, but you also can't have cooperation without leadership. And the leadership has to have vision. That comes from the stories we tell. They have to have drive. You can argue that comes from the hormones, the testosterone, but they also have to have the ability to remain calm in the storm, because if they lose their composure, the team loses their composure, and nobody wants to follow a maniac that's out of control.
The frankness from testosterone, and then also the kindness as well. And so
Yeah.
when the two hemispheres are together, the masculine and feminine, if you want to think in those terms, or the biochemistry that we just talked about, the testosterone, cortisol, adrenaline mixed with the serotonin and oxytocin,